All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Cara McCutcheon is here for her weekly spot talking a little bit of Ole Miss football. Hey, KD Hill, Cara, was just announced as the Chucky Mullins Courage Award winner. That's always a pretty cool award, and that is one of those moments whenever Chucky got hurt and got injured. I can remember exactly where I was. That was probably the second time in my life that happened. The first time being the challenger, but those two things are really clear in my mind.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and like we discussed, Lane kind of moved this to a fall thing, so I think he gives time a little bit from the spring. So very much an honor for him.
Yeah, he's a good player, and he said it was his dream ever since he committed to Ole Miss and found out about it. That became a goal to someday wear the number 38. So I think he's actually going to wear the jersey and not just the 38 patch, and it's going to be a pretty cool thing. I just wanted to bring that up because that was just recently announced before we started recording. Anyway, Cara, I want to bring this up to you. And let's say that the media can be lemmings from time to time. And because of that, and Auburn having the amount of disarray that they have, how long do you think it is before they say Lane Kiffin is a candidate there?
Oh, I think we'll hear it probably about mid-October. It's setting up quite nicely to look like a nice little Tommy T throwback, especially with Lane's current comments about Oxford. Those similarities are stacking up. Do I think Lane would leave? No. But do I think it definitely puts together a great rumor? Absolutely.
Yes. Just so everybody knows, in the name of transparency, Lane Kiffin is a name. If I put him in the title, I'm guaranteed to get 200 more views for the same video than I would have gotten before. It's the same thing with Jackson Dart. Some people just have that interest rating. So the media is going, because of that, any job that comes open, they're going to attach Lane Kiffin in there, whether there's real interest or not, because it guarantees their article is going to do better. It's really weird.
Yeah, and like I said, it's got the makings of a is this the next Tuberville? Gosh, could you not see Lane as a future senator? I could. So I think it really does have the makings of a good story, a good rumor. So I think we'll hear it. We might hear it for other schools, but I definitely think as we go through the season, we'll hear it more and more for Auburn.
And tonight, as this podcast airs on a Thursday, Tennessee is going to start playing. Missouri is going to start playing. It's going to start to feel real because there's games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. It's going to be nonstop throughout the week. What are you looking forward to this weekend?
Obviously I'm looking forward to us in story, but I'm really also looking forward to seeing how LSU and, well, I know that's Sunday, but LSU and FSU. Interested in watching that Notre Dame and Ohio State matchup. And of course, Georgia, Oregon. That Dan Lanning versus former team, Bo Nix again against Georgia. So good matchups coming up.
Yeah, today at about 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Central, we're going to release a video. But the three games to watch in college football, the three that we pick, is Arkansas, Cincinnati, because that's a ranked game that nobody's thinking about. Auburn, Georgia, and Ohio State, Notre Dame. Those are the three games to watch this week. And that should be a really cool segment that I think this thing has a chance to grow a little bit. But yeah, as I'm building all these graphics for all these new shows on game week, I just get so excited. Like I got to build the live stream today, and I'm just like giddy, like I'm 6 years old and it's Christmas Eve, and I'm just trying to rush downstairs and see what's under the tree. But that's how I'm feeling right now.
Another good matchup that people aren't really talking about, but has potential legs, is that South Carolina Georgia State game. Mm-hmm. Georgia State had some pretty good openings against, who is it, Auburn and
Tennessee.
Tennessee, yeah. Mm-hmm. I think South Carolina will win it, but that has the potential legs to be a pretty decent game, pretty decent matchup.
And if I'm not mistaken, the head coach at Georgia State was at one point the interim coach, maybe after Spurrier left at South Carolina. So he has some roots there at South Carolina. And the new mascot name, they had to change the name from Sir Big Spur at South Carolina to something else.
Yeah, it's now
the General. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, I thought one of the choices, maybe they were joking on it, one of the choices was Cluck Norris. And I was like, if you name your mascot that, you're never losing again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they missed an opening there.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody wanted to go juvenile with the Cock Commander thing that they were all talking about. And they just completely whiffed on the Cluck Norris thing, and then they went with the General because we can't name our mascot that. And it's like people naming boats like Bodie McBoatface and stuff like that. Whenever you put it for a vote, expect the lowest common denominator to rule the day.
Yeah, I think another good matchup that I think people aren't talking about is that Memphis Mississippi State game. That could potentially, I think Memphis could keep it close. They typically try to against Mississippi teams. This actually came up, bringing that up, is Memphis a rival? And I just don't see Memphis. And growing up as an Ole Miss fan, I've never considered Memphis a rival or a traditional rival.
Are you talking about that thing from Big Game Boomer that he did on Crane and Company?
And Jake Crane. It started a huge conversation with both Mississippi schools, which, congrats to them bringing Egg Bowl Twitter together in one tweet. But I don't think I've ever in my life considered Memphis a rival. I'm not saying they're not a good team, just I've never considered them one of our traditional rivals.
Yeah, they're one of those teams that look at Ole Miss. They look at themselves as they want to be a rival of Ole Miss and of Mississippi State. But the other way, it isn't quite there. It's the same way that Ole Miss fans view USM. And USM viewed State and Ole Miss in a different way. Now, I like Big Game Boomer. He's fun. He's really good at grabbing attention. He's really good at starting conversations. And he just kind of whiffed a little bit here because I think Ole Miss played Memphis last in 2018, 2019.
2019, yeah.
Yeah, it's 2019. Enough time hasn't been passed where you can play the ducking them card because this was never a every year type of game. If you want to play the ducking them card against Ole Miss, it would be a Southern Mississippi argument because Southern Miss beat them in '84 and Ole Miss didn't play them again.
Yeah, I don't think we're really ducking Memphis. I think, if you look at our record overall, it's like 47-12 and then 2 against Memphis. I don't think I really consider Memphis, like I said, a rival. And I don't think anybody at Ole Miss really goes into that game as scared as people think. I think we constantly think we should win that game. I don't think we think it should be as close as it is sometimes. But overall record, I don't really find us to be fearful of playing Memphis.
Yeah, there's certain fans that have the take that Memphis is going to be really up for Ole Miss. They're going to be really game to play. And my theory, my thought process on that is, well, don't worry about that. You want that. Everybody's up for Alabama every single game. It is their Super Bowl. That means you are where you want to be. If somebody is trying to punch up to get to you, that's a good thing. And you don't want to be in a situation where Memphis is not excited to play you. You don't want to be in a position where Southern Miss is not excited to play you. And there's just a weird thing. People are so risk adverse now, and there's a trash talking culture that has developed over the last 50 years or so. And I think a lot of this with Southern Miss and Memphis is they spend most of their time talking to people and honestly talking down about Memphis and Southern Miss. So if they ever lose that game, it's going to be reciprocated so hard. And people are going to earn it. They're going to deserve it for what's coming because of the way they've acted. That's my theory on that.
No, I agree. You bring a good point. I think we have that even when teams we view like Vandy or even sometimes Arkansas or State, or we feel, oh, as a mid-tier SEC team, I'm better than that team. So I think we do that just as much as in the SEC versus each other than we do non-conference
Well,
schools.
there's people at Ole Miss, and I've heard this conversation that says we should stop playing Mississippi State or we should leave the trophy at the center of the field. And that isn't a rivalry thing. That isn't a toxicity thing. That is a fact that you have talked for a full year. And if you lose that game, it's going to come back at you. That's all it
Right.
is. It's just dreading that, because anybody that denies that Ole Miss and Mississippi State is not a rivalry and that game shouldn't be played, you don't have Ole Miss's best interest at heart, and you don't really know what's going on.
I think you have to have that. One of the things that I think social media has brought about is kind of taking away some of that banter. That I think it's there and it's fun, but you have to have that with your rival. As fans, that's one of the most fun you can have, going back and forth with your rival about those games. Now, of course, some people take it way farther than they probably should, but um, I think some of the best times I've had is going back and forth with people from different teams in the SEC. I have a blast going back and forth, especially, when you have those games like the Arkansas game and it comes down to the wire like that, and you're like, oh man, I'm about to hear it. And then you somehow win it and you're like, thank God. I don't have to go back and eat crow now.
It's a little bit similar to like gambling and have money on it. It's just that little bit of there's a consequence that you have personally for losing that game.
Yep.
And it's funny, and like that's a weird thing. You mentioned Arkansas. That rivalry when Texas and Oklahoma comes in, Ole Miss is probably going to lose that rivalry every year. That's going to be in the chopping block. Arkansas is going to play Texas, A&M, and probably Mizzou. That's going to be their three. But that is a sneaky, weird, fantastic SEC rivalry, and is probably the best rival that Arkansas has, and that goes back to the 80s.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think that's gonna be sad for both Ole Miss fans and Arkansas fans, because I think in any sport, even when we played in baseball, I remember talking to Arkansas fans and both of us going, man, you just never know when these two teams match up. Like, it doesn't matter your records, it doesn't matter if you're ranked, it doesn't matter what you're projected to do. These two teams seem to play very differently against each other, and they can definitely ruin a season. If I think people out there who are saying, oh, Ole Miss is going to come in and we're just going to trounce them in Fayetteville, I don't think they truly believe that, because, there's never been a time these two teams have gone against each other, especially recently, that just hasn't come down to the wire. It hasn't given you a small heart attack. I think both sides are, giving beta blockers a nice little push. I'm always really excited for that. So I do think with the possibility of Oklahoma and Texas coming in, it does kind of take away that matchup, and it'll be sad to lose that every year.
Yeah, but if they do what they say they're going to do, it'll be playing Arkansas every other year at that point, because every 2 years they'll end up popping up back on the schedule. So they'll play twice in 4 years. But that is a series where weirdness just seems to happen, from Brian Walker in baseball pretending to be hit, to 4th and 25, to the 2-point conversion last year, to Ole Miss having a 30-point first half lead and ended up losing the game.
Yeah.
All of that's happened in the last 10 years.
Yep. Yeah.
You would be hard pressed. You'd be hard pressed to find that elsewhere.
Yeah, I think many of us can't even look at Hunter Henry the same. Like just a weird freak play that that Arkansas matchup is just a fun one. So
7 overtime, Eli. The hit,
Eli,
if you want to go back to 1990. Back when they were in the Southwest Conference, Ole Miss and Arkansas played every year. And it was a vault thing, because Johnny Vault played them until, I think, the 60s and the 50s and 40s, and then they kind of stopped in the 60s. And then Billy Brewer, who played them when he was playing for Ole Miss, picked them back up, and all of a sudden that game, they've played that game every year since 1981, I think.
We talk about Arkansas too, but I think the same could be said with LSU. I talked to a lot of people from LSU, and they love playing with us. The funny thing with LSU is our biggest rivalry, not so much the game, but while we have that, we want to beat LSU every year, obviously. It's a special thing there that we want to come in and really just take out LSU. But LSU fans get really upset about the Grove. They cannot stand that the Grove beats them in tailgating. They get very upset if their tailgating isn't put above Oxford.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Gumbo in a parking lot does not turn me on.
Yeah, and so they say, oh, if you like cold chicken tenders. And I'm like, when do you not like cold chicken tenders? Like, who doesn't like that, right? So, that's the thing is the biggest rivalry is that they hate we are ranked above them as far as the tailgate experience. They can't stand it.
And when Ole Miss is good, and after last year going into Tiger Stadium this year, if Ole Miss is 6-7-0 when they play LSU this year, everybody will get an idea of what LSU really thinks about Ole Miss, because when Ole Miss is good, there is a next level of hatred that comes out of those guys.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I remember being in Omaha, and I was standing with some friends that were from OU, and they hadn't really ever experienced Ole Miss or anything. And the national anthem was playing, and a guy yelled during the middle of it, "Go to hell, LSU." And I laughed, and they turned to me after and said, "What did he say?" And I explained, I was like, they were like, I didn't even realize how big of a rivalry that was. And I had to laugh, and I said, yeah, we're real classy with that one. We do like to it's bigger than people think. So
yeah, I've been going to LSU Ole Miss games since '83. '83 was my first Ole Miss LSU game, and that the go to hell LSU thing, it's been a pretty consistent thing all through the years.
So
it's pretty cool.
I have to say, this gets me pumped. I'm so excited. I'm ready for football to get here and get started. I wake up every day like, oh my gosh, we're not there yet. Like, can we get closer and closer? Like, I'm super excited to see who starts. Even I know like a lot of people are like, oh, our matchups for the first 2 weeks, but I still think it'll be great games. I still think we're going to see a lot there. I think we'll see a lot of development. I think there's a lot of things to watch for in those games moving forward to see kind of predict more how we think our season's going to go. If we lose any of those first 4 games, I probably will be in the fetal position. I'll probably be a little sad. But I'm just really excited for this season. And I think for Ole Miss fans, like with Lane, with everything, I think we have a lot to look forward to with Juice leading the walkthrough. So.
All right. Before I let you go today, I need a prediction out of you. Not a rooting thing. You don't root. Who do you think takes the first snap Saturday?
All right. I haven't said much, but
yeah. It's not a root thing at this point. It's just a prediction.
My prediction is Jackson Dart.
Okay. That's kind of going around at the moment anyway. But anyway, thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, go check out the Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022. An 8-episode extravaganza to get you ready for the NFL season. The local team experts of Locked On Podcast Network and Odyssey NFL Insiders are all combining into one ultimate NFL preview. Search for Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022 on your Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. Cara, thank you so much. Enjoy the game this weekend, and we'll do it again next week.
Thanks, Steven. Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy.